The diver's headlamp cut through murky water, illuminating the steel door 8 feet below the surface. Nora's hands shook as she watched the monitor feed from above. 2 weeks ago, she'd been sleeping in her car. Now she was standing in a condemned boathouse watching a professional salvage team crack open a submerged safe that might contain nothing but waterlogged papers. Worth $300 million in gold. We're through the first lock. The diver's voice crackled through the radio. Ma'am, the interior seal looks intact. Whatever's inside stayed dry. Nora gripped the railing of the rickety platform. Her entire body felt electric. Behind her, the salvage coordinator made notes on a tablet. Outside, 2 armored trucks waited with guards who'd arrived at dawn. Opening now, the diver said. The camera showed his gloved hands pulling the heavy door. Even underwater, the hinges moved smoothly. The light swept inside. Gold bars, stacked floor to ceiling, gleaming like treasure from a movie. Oh my God, Nora whispered. It's real. 3 weeks earlier, the eviction notice was taped to Nora's apartment door when she got home from her 2 a.m. shift at Value Mart. 72 hours. She peeled it off with numb fingers, adding it to the collection in her purse. 3 months behind on rent. $2,670 owed. Her bank account showed $89.32. Inside the studio, she kicked off shoes that had soaked through during the walk from the bus stop. November in Seattle meant rain that never stopped, cold that worked into your bones. Her feet ached. Her back ached. Everything ached. She was 22 and so tired she couldn't remember what not tired felt like. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Probably a creditor. She let it go to voicemail, then curiosity won. She listened. Ms. Abbott, this is Marion Chun from Chun & Associates, estate attorneys. I'm calling regarding the estate of Lillian Abbott. Please return this call at your earliest convenience regarding an inheritance matter. Nora played it again. Lillian Abbott. Aunt Lillian. Dad's sister, the one nobody talked about. Nora had met her exactly once, at her father's funeral 6 years ago. A bird-like woman with sharp eyes who'd pressed a business card into Nora's hand and said, "If you ever need anything." Nora had lost the card the same week. She called back from the Value Mart parking lot the next afternoon, sitting in her dying Honda while rain drummed on the roof. Ms. Abbott, thank you for calling back. Marion Chin's voice was professionally warm. I'm sorry to inform you that Lillian Abbott passed away 4 weeks ago. Her will names you as sole beneficiary of her property. Property. A boathouse structure located at 1847 Channel Way, Bellingham. The building is in significant disrepair. There's substantial water damage, and the property has been cited for code violations. The estate barely covers Ms. Abbott's final expenses, so there are no liquid assets. Just the property itself. Nora closed her eyes. A broken boathouse. Perfect. What's it worth? In its current condition? The assessor estimates the land value at approximately $8,000. The structure would need to be demolished. I'm sorry this isn't better news. Can I see it? Of course. I'll email you the address and access information. That Sunday, Nora drove north in the Honda, watching the temperature gauge creep toward the red zone. Bellingham was 90 minutes from Seattle. The Honda wouldn't make 90 more minutes without major repairs she couldn't afford. But she had to see it. Had to know what Aunt Lillian thought was worth leaving her. The boathouse sat at the end of a gravel road, half collapsed into the gray water of Bellingham Bay. The roof sagged. Windows were broken. Barnacles encrusted the pilings. A condemned notice from the city flapped in the wind. Nora unlocked the door with the key Marion had mailed. It stuck, swollen with moisture, but finally gave. Inside smelled like rot and brine. Water covered the floor, 6 inches of it, dark and still. She could see a staircase, descending into deeper water, leading to what must have been a basement. Great, she muttered. Thanks, Aunt Lillian. But there was something else. On a table near the door, protected in a plastic bag, an envelope with her name. Nora opened it with shaking hands. Nora, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't help you more when you needed it. Your father and I didn't speak for 30 years, and I'll regret that forever. But I'm trying to make it right now. This boathouse looks worthless. It's not. In the basement, there's a safe. Combination 34-12-67. What's inside is yours. I acquired it legally, though your father would have called it immoral. I called it survival. You'll understand when you see it. Trust yourself. Don't let anyone tell you what you deserve. Love, Aunt Lily and Nora looked at the flooded staircase. A basement safe. Underwater. She went home. What else could she do? She had 48 hours before eviction. No way to drain a flooded basement. No diving equipment. No money for either. But that night, she couldn't sleep. She researched salvage companies, underwater safes, basement flooding. At 3 a.m., she found a forum post from someone who'd recovered valuables from a flooded basement. The company they'd used, Cascade Salvage and Recovery. Nora called at 8 a.m. "This is Cascade, Tony speaking. I need to hire a diver. There's a safe in a flooded basement. I need to know what's inside." "Okay, what's the water depth?" "Maybe 8 feet. We can do that. Service call is $500. Recovery fee depends on what's involved." Nora looked at her bank balance. $89.32. "I can't pay until I know what's in the safe." Silence. "Then, tell me more about this safe." She told them everything. The inheritance. Aunt Lillian's note. The condemned boathouse. "I'll come look," Tony said finally. "No charge for assessment. If there's something worth recovering, we work out payment from whatever we find." "Sound fair?" "Yes. Thank you." Tony arrived Tuesday morning with a dry suit and equipment. He surveyed the flooded basement from above, then geared up. Nora watched from the stairs as he descended into the dark water, his headlamp creating a cone of murky light. "I see it." His voice came through the radio. "Commercial-grade safe. Old, but quality. Sealed tight. Can you open it?" "Not underwater. But I can tell you this. That safe cost someone serious money. Whatever's inside, they wanted it protected." He surfaced, water streaming from his suit. "Here's my offer. I bring in my full team. We crack it carefully. If it's empty or worthless, you owe me nothing. If there's value, I take 10% and arrange secure transportation for the rest." "Deal." Nora thought of the eviction notice. The $89.32. The aunt who'd vanished from family history and left her a mystery. "Deal." Tony's team arrived at dawn on Thursday, the day Nora's eviction took effect. She'd loaded everything she owned into her Honda. 2 duffel bags of clothes, a box of books, Emma's old stuffed rabbit from childhood. Everything that mattered fit in a trunk that barely closed. She'd slept in the Value Mart parking lot Wednesday night, reclined in the driver's seat, watching security lights paint shadows across the dashboard. Her phone showed 17 missed calls from her landlord. She'd stopped answering days ago. Now she stood in the boathouse watching 3 divers suit up while Tony assembled monitoring equipment. A woman named Cass connected cameras. A younger guy, Marcus, loaded specialized cutting tools into waterproof cases. "Standard procedure," Tony explained. "We document everything. If this safe contains anything valuable, you'll need proof of provenance for insurance, sale, whatever. Video record protects everyone." "What if it's empty?" Nora asked. "Then we all wasted a Thursday." Tony smiled. "But I've been doing this 16 years. People don't install safes like that for nothing." Cass descended first, securing lights around the safe. The monitors blazed to life, showing the steel door in sharp detail. Barnacles had colonized one corner, but the seal looked intact. "Combination lock," Cass reported. "Corrosion on the exterior, but the mechanism should work." "What's the sequence?" Nora read from Aunt Lillian's note. 34-12-67. Marcus went down with specialized tools. Through the camera feed, Nora watched his gloved hands work the dial. Water made everything slow, dreamlike. The tension in the boathouse was thick enough to taste. "First number set," Marcus said. Moving to second. Nora's hands gripped the railing. Behind her, Tony made notes. Cass monitored oxygen levels and dive time. "Second number set." Going to third. The dial turned. Marcus pulled the handle. "Nothing. Seal stuck," he said. "Cass, bring the pry bar." They worked carefully, methodically. 15 minutes passed. 20. Nora's legs ached from standing, but she couldn't sit. Couldn't look away. "We're through," Marcus said. "Seal's intact. Interior looks dry. Opening now." The camera caught everything. The heavy doors swinging open. Marcus's light sweeping inside. The sudden bloom of gold. "Holy," Marcus stopped. "Tony, you need to see this." Tony pulled on a dry suit and went down. The camera showed both divers now, their lights illuminating rows of stacked bars. Gold bars. Dozens of them. When Tony surfaced, his face was pale. "Nora, we need to stop. Right now. We need security, armored transport, proper documentation." What's down there? He shook his head. That's not my 10% conversation. That's lawyers and specialists, and possibly the FBI. What are you talking about? There's approximately 400 gold bars in that safe. Standard 400 troy ounce size. At current market price, around $2,000 per ounce. He calculated on his phone. Roughly $320 million. Maybe more. The boathouse tilted. Nora grabbed the railing. That can't be real. It's real. I've seen gold. That's real. Tony pulled out his phone. I'm calling my contact at Sentinel Security. And you need a lawyer. A serious one. The next 6 hours blurred. Sentinel arrived with armed guards. Marion Chin drove up from Seattle, her eyes wide with shock. A specialist from the Seattle Gold Exchange came to verify and appraise. The divers brought up 1 bar for testing. 40 pounds of solid gold, stamped with Swiss refinery marks from 1978. These are legitimate, the specialist said, examining the stamp under magnification. Serial numbers intact. Legally minted and traded. Where did your aunt acquire them? I don't know, Nora said. We weren't close. Marion pulled up files on her laptop. Lillian Abbott's financial records show she worked in commodities trading from 1975 to 1995. She lived modestly but invested aggressively. It appears she converted most of her assets to physical gold during the late 70s, when prices were volatile, and just kept it in a boathouse basement. The building wasn't flooded when she bought it. The foundation failed about 8 years ago, according to city records. She was 91 at that point. Probably couldn't manage the repairs. The Sentinel coordinator approached with paperwork. Ms. Abbott, we can transport to secure storage today. Climate-controlled vault, 24-hour security, full insurance. But we need your signature. Nora's hands shook as she signed. The armored trucks backed up to the boathouse. The divers made repeated trips, bringing up gold in waterproof containers. Each bar was weighed, photographed, documented. The process took until sunset. Final count, the coordinator said. 412 bars. Total weight, 164,800 troy ounces. Current market value, $334,400,000. Ms. Abbott, you're now one of the wealthiest women in Washington state. Nora sat down hard on the boathouse steps. Her phone buzzed, Value Mart, asking where she was. She'd missed her shift. Missed 2 shifts. She started laughing. Couldn't stop. The coordinator looked worried. I'm fine, Nora managed. I got evicted this morning. I've been sleeping in my car. I have $89 in my bank account. Marion sat beside her. Not anymore. We'll need time to liquidate strategically. Selling this much gold at once would impact the market. But I can arrange a significant advance against the estate. Enough for housing, living expenses, a financial advisor. How much is significant? 5 million? 10? Whatever you need while we plan the larger liquidation. 10 million. As an advance. While she figured out what to do with 300 million, Nora looked at the boathouse, this broken structure that had hidden a fortune. She thought of Aunt Lillian, investing aggressively when women rarely did, accumulating wealth in silence, letting her family think she had nothing. Tony, Nora called. What's your 10%? He laughed. We can renegotiate. No. Deal's a deal. 10% of 334 million. You earned it. His face went slack. That's $33 million. Sounds right. Nora stood. Marion, make it happen. Tony and his team get 10%, split however they want. They trusted me when I had nothing. Cass started crying. Marcus sat down. Tony just stared. Ms. Abbott, Marion said gently. You should think about this. I have thought about it. They could have claimed salvage rights. They could have called the authorities before telling me. They played fair. So will I. That night, Marion secured Nora a suite at the Fairmont Olympic. Nora stood in the marble bathroom, staring at herself in the mirror. Same exhausted face. Same uniform polo from Value Mart. Same aching feet. But different. Fundamentally different. She called Value Mart and quit. Called her landlord and told him she wouldn't be retrieving her deposit. Called the Honda dealership and asked about their best model. Then she sat on the bed and cried. For Aunt Lillian, who'd survived alone. For herself, who wouldn't have to. 3 months later, Nora sat in a conference room 60 floors above Seattle, watching her financial advisor present investment strategies. The view stretched to Mount Rainier, snow-covered and serene. Everything felt surreal still. Conservative diversification puts you at approximately $8 million annual income from safe investments alone, David was saying. You'd never touch the principal. Or we can be more aggressive. What about the boathouse? Nora interrupted. David blinked. I'm sorry. The boathouse where we found the gold. It's condemned. The city wants it demolished. What would it cost to restore it? Ms. Abbott, that's not really an investment property. I didn't ask about investment. I asked what it would cost. David pulled up files. Structural repairs, foundation work, full restoration. Maybe $2 million? $3 million if you want it historically accurate. Do it. Restore it exactly as it was. Then turn it into a community center. Free financial literacy classes. Small business coaching. Resources for women in crisis. That's very generous. That's the point. Nora stood, walking to the window. My aunt spent 40 years building wealth in silence because she had to. Because the world didn't make space for women who wanted financial independence. I'm making space. The foundation launched in May. The Lillian Abbott Center for Financial Independence occupied the restored boathouse, its fresh paint gleaming white against the bay. The flooded basement had been waterproofed and converted to meeting rooms. Upstairs, certified financial counselors offered free consultations. The waiting list was 6 months long. Nora hired Tony's salvage company as permanent consultants. They taught classes on starting unconventional businesses. Cass ran workshops on skilled trades for women. Marcus coordinated with community colleges on scholarship programs. On opening day, reporters asked Nora how it felt to inherit such an enormous fortune. It feels like responsibility, she said. My aunt couldn't spend it because she was too old and too isolated when the boathouse flooded. She couldn't access her own wealth. So she left it to me with instructions. Trust yourself. Don't let anyone tell you what you deserve. I'm passing that message forward. But the moment that mattered most came on a Tuesday afternoon, when a young woman walked into the center carrying an eviction notice. She was 23, working 3 jobs, exhausted in a way Nora recognized viscerally. I need help, the woman said. I don't know what to do. Nora sat her down in the consultation room, the same space that had once been underwater, hiding gold. Tell me everything. We'll figure it out together. They worked for 2 hours. Budget planning, debt consolidation, tenant rights. By the end, the woman had a concrete plan and contacts for legal aid. She left with tears of relief. After she'd gone, Nora stood in the boathouse, looking at the photos on the wall. Aunt Lillian in the 1970s, standing on the trading floor. Aunt Lillian in the 1980s, accepting some award. Aunt Lillian at 90, standing in front of this very building. Marion had found the photos in Lillian's apartment, along with journals. Nora had read them all. 40 years of entries about investments, about being dismissed by male colleagues, about accumulating wealth quietly while her family assumed she was poor, about buying the boathouse as a secure location because she trusted banks only so far. December 15, 1979, converted another $50,000 to gold today. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. They thought the same when I started trading. Being underestimated is a woman's secret advantage. They never see us coming. March 3, 1988, my brother called asking for money. I said no. He called me selfish. Funny how men think women's money belongs to everyone but women. June 22, 2014, the basement flooded. I'm too old to fix it. The gold is fine, waterproof, safe, thank God. But I can't access it anymore. Can't liquidate. Can't spend. All this wealth locked away. Maybe that's fitting. I built it in isolation. Let it rest in isolation. Until someone comes who needs it more than I do. October 8, 2023. Met my niece Nora today. James's funeral. She's 19, alone, trying to be strong. I saw myself in her eyes. That exhaustion. That determination. I gave her my card. She probably lost it. That's okay. When I'm gone, she'll get everything. The boathouse. The gold. The lesson. Survive first, thrive later, then help others do both. Nora touched the journal entry, protected now behind museum glass. Survive first, thrive later, then help others do both. She'd survived. She was thriving. And every day, the center helped others do the same. Her phone buzzed. David, gold prices up 3% this week. Your portfolio just increased by $9 million. Congratulations. $9 million. From a week of market fluctuation. Nora looked around the boathouse, at the women attending a budgeting workshop, at the small business owners pitching ideas to volunteer consultants. The center's operating budget was $2 million annually. The price increase covered 4 years of operations. She typed back, increased the scholarship fund by $5 million. Let's get more women through college. That night, Nora drove to her condo. Modest, 3 bedrooms, nothing ostentatious. She'd bought it outright, furniture included, and still had more money than she could spend in 10 lifetimes. The absurdity never quite faded. But she'd learned something Aunt Lillian understood. Wealth wasn't about luxury. It was about options. About saying no to exploitation. About having space to breathe. Nora had that now. And she was making sure other women got it too. She poured wine and stood on her balcony, watching lights reflect off Elliott Bay. Somewhere out there, the boathouse glowed white against the darkness. In its basement, where gold had once been hidden, women now learned to build futures. From condemned wreckage to community cornerstone. From sleeping in her car to changing lives. Nora raised her glass toward Bellingham, toward the aunt she'd barely known but would never forget. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me, for trusting me, for teaching me that being underestimated is just the beginning of the story." The city lights glittered. The water rolled dark and eternal. And somewhere in the night, another young woman was probably getting an eviction notice, feeling hopeless, believing she was worthless. Tomorrow, Nora would help her understand otherwise. Because that's what women who survive do. They turn wreckage into foundations. They transform hidden wealth into shared prosperity. They prove that the things the world dismisses, broken boathouses, exhausted women, overlooked lives, are often the most valuable of all. Nora finished her wine and went inside. She had a board meeting in the morning, grant applications to review, lives to change. The work was endless, but for the first time in her life, she had the resources to do it right. And that was worth more than all the gold in the world.